Hi everyone, welcome back for another process video. So I am very out of practice for making these videos, so please bear with me. Also, my voice is still kind of crazy sounding, so also please be patient with that. I am making another layout today using the Carta Bella special delivery line, and I really enjoyed this collection because of the traditional Christmas colors it has in it. It has the darker greens, darker reds, and I really enjoyed that. I don't mind the collections with like the pink and the teal in them and things like that, but I love how this layout turns out, and part of it is the colors. I am following a sketch today by Page Maps, and normally, again, I'm out of practice because normally I would show you the sketch in the beginning because it's a Page Map sketch. It's free for everybody to see. So, but this time I just didn't even think about it. So I will tell you it's one of their November 2018 sketches, and my cat just decided to jump up behind me and start biting my hair. I follow the sketch fairly closely. Quit it, kitty. I do change a couple things, and one of the big things that I change on it is they have their sketch all the way butted up to the left-hand side of the layout, and I'm going to take mine and butt it up to the right-hand side of the layout. And I can't remember why I changed it. So I remember there was a reason, but now that I'm doing the voiceover, because I made this layout within the last week or two, so I don't remember, but there was a reason. But anyways, it's no big deal. That's just one way that you can change a sketch. And I have done this voiceover like 20 million times now, and like I said, I'm really out of practice of it. So one of the 50 million times that I did it in the beginning, I was thinking I'm going to do a video on how to break down a sketch. So I use a lot of scrapbook generation sketches, and their sketches are great because they have the sizes and the proportions that you're supposed to cut the papers and everything to. But like this Page Map sketches don't. And so I thought maybe I would do a video in case any of you out there struggle with what size to cut the papers, or struggle with using sketches at all. So I don't feel like you have to follow sketches completely. And so, but like I said, I'm going to do a video, so be looking for that to come up in the next week or two. And I will walk you through how I interpret sketches and things like that. So be looking for that. Excuse me. So I'm inking on my edges now with my black Close to My Heart ink. A lot of you, if you are a new subscriber, I like to ink my edges still. It was nice to read some comments that people still do ink their edges. I was kind of surprised more people actually said they do than they didn't. So I actually went to a crop since I've made this video, and my friend inks her edges too, and I didn't even know that about her. So that was really interesting to find out. So I just feel like it finishes off the layout, which a lot of people I think also finish off. So one thing I will add really quickly is I am doing this voiceover Tuesday, and today is the day that the monthly celebration videos went up. Very excited about that collaboration, and I can't wait to do next month's video. But if you have left me a comment and I have not replied, don't worry, please be patient. I do reply to every comment. It just sometimes takes me a little bit of time. So it's a little wonky sometimes because I have a YouTube app, and then I also have, on my phone, you can, go on Safari to the YouTube thing. And the Safari thing will show up things a lot quicker than the YouTube app will, so it's a little wonky. But I promise I will reply to any comment that you leave. So I love reading comments. I read them all, and I love replying to them. So it's great to get to know people, I feel like. So anyways, back to the layout. When I'm working on a double page layout, I will work on one side at a time. And when I work on the second page, I will usually line it up, as you can kind of see that I am doing here. I will line it up with the first page, and so that the papers are, for the most part, lined up. Sometimes they're off a little bit. Doesn't really matter, especially on this one, since it has that big green plaid piece in between the two. If it was off, I mean, you would notice if it was off like a good inch, but if it's off, an eighth of an inch, it's not. Nobody's going to notice. So you can see me here, I'm aligning it up again so that I can make sure to get this border sticker on there straight. And it was straight, but when I pulled it off a little bit, it was stuck to the right-hand page, and so I just used my T-square ruler to straighten it up a little. And this is basically how the layout is going to look. Another thing with the sketch, oh, actually, before I talk about that, I am trimming these photos down. So their sketch called for 4x6 photos, but the background paper that they had, I'm sure that they, well, you can do whatever you want because it's a sketch, but if you had two of the same piece of patterned paper, you wouldn't have to cut your 4x6 photos down at all. I had to trim just a little bit off of each of mine because I only had the one piece of wood grain paper, and I was determined to make it work for this layout because these pictures are about us cutting down our own Christmas tree, which is a tradition that we have. And so I wanted to really use that wood grain paper. I really like it anyways. I think I already mentioned that. I think it's a really pretty piece of paper. So this layout turns out really, really, I like it. Excuse me, I'm getting all tongue-tied. So I do cut down my 4x6 photos just a little bit so that they will fit. So that's what I was doing a moment ago. And now these photos were getting just a little bit lost on that green background because of all the green in the trees. And so I searched, I was kind of hoping for something a little more just plain red, but I couldn't find anything. So I'm just going to mount them on this black piece of pattern paper, and it's just got wonky dots all over it, kind of like snow, and it helps them stand out just a little bit, just enough to be off of the green, but not so much that they take the center stage of the layout, which I really like. That one picture of my husband, that's a really good photo. In fact, he came home from work and he came in and he saw me working on it, and he was really quiet, and I'm like, look at this, do you like this? And I said, look at this photo, isn't it a really good photo of you? And that's what he was looking at and why he was so quiet. He's like, yeah, that really is a good photo of me. So that was kind of funny. Right, what I just did there is, before I glue all my photos down, I like to write the date down so I usually use a date roller stamp to add my date. I do not scrapbook chronologically, but I do put my layouts in the albums chronologically. And I thought maybe I would do a little video of how I store my layouts and how I put them in chronologically one of these days for you also. So that is, oh, and another thing I did with the sketch. So their sketch called for 5 photos, and I had 6 photos. So another way you can alter a sketch is by taking you can take 2 photos and cut them down to 3x4, and they will fit in a 4x6 spot just perfectly. So that is another way that you can, if you have more photos than what a sketch calls for, by all means, trim them down and throw them in there. So there was this 3x4 card that I had seen in the beginning, and I really wanted to use it because it had that truck with the tree, and I knew that this was the only layout that I was ever going to probably use those on. That's not my type of element usually, but I really liked it for this one, because we took his truck and we got the tree. But I ended up trimming that 3x4 card down because I found this truck sticker instead. And so I'm just playing around with it. I was trying to get the truck. I wasn't sure if I wanted the truck on top or the 3x4 card on top, but that wheel of the truck would not fit in between the words right. It just wasn't working for me. So I decided I'm going to add some foam tape to the 3x4 card piece and pop that up. And that's a little bit of the title. I can't remember. I don't think I make any more of a title. There's a few things around. I don't feel like every layout has to have a title. I mean, it's obvious what we're doing here. I do a little bit of journaling, but if you can't tell what we're doing in these photos, then you might want to look a little harder. Anyway, so I am just going through all of my ephemera and extra pieces and my chipboard pieces now. One thing I like of this collection is that tag that's up on the top right. Is they have these tags with like the ribbon already on it. It's not real ribbon, but it's part of the ephemera piece or the chipboard piece. And I really like the way that the ribbon looks on those. So I am hanging these 2 tags in the bottom. I'm kind of offsetting them each so that they look like tags hanging off of something. And one of them is a chipboard piece, so and the other one's a sticker. So here I'm just adding some foam tape to the sticker, just so it'll stay up as high as the other tag. The other tag was blank, and that one had words on it, so that's why I wanted it up higher. So now I'm gluing down my truck sticker, and I'm adding more glue to it because I had tried to get some of the adhesive off by rubbing it on my pants a few times because I thought I was going to put foam tape on the truck, and since I didn't, I went ahead and added a little more adhesive to it just so it would stay on the page. And it doesn't take me long. Once I start feeling like I like the way things look in a cluster, I will go ahead and start gluing them down, whether I know what else I'm going to add or not. I like to have things so they're not moving around, and it helps me tuck things in other places, and it just really helps me get my clusters going. And I've ripped up things from clusters before. I have no problem ripping anything up. So I just like to go ahead and get my clusters started. So this tag I'm adding up to the top right hand cluster, and I'm taking this, I believe this is crochet twine, and this whole huge roll of it is like $3 or something, or that's what it was a couple years ago when I got it. I don't use ribbon and stuff very much. I find that I struggle. The only ribbon that I might use, or twine, is white. So I do have some white, but I find that I really like the way that this crochet twine looks because it's just small and it just adds a little something. So it's not too overbearing. But yeah, so I just recently, last summer, when I purged a bunch of stuff, I got rid of a bunch of ribbon because the only thing I really ever use is my twine. So anyways, so I went ahead and just tied a little bow and added it to the end of the tag just for a little bit more added interest. And then since I had that chipboard piece in the middle cluster on the bottom, I went ahead and started looking for more chipboard. So I added that chipboard tag in the top cluster on the right, and then I found that little saying, that black banner piece on the right, or excuse me, the left hand side, and that is chipboard too. If I am making clusters, I like to add a little something that's the same element in each cluster. And one thing I'm trying to figure out here was the other two clusters, the one on the top right and the one on the left, have a bunch of red in them. The truck is red and that ephemera piece is red. So I was looking for some red to add into this cluster. And this cluster isn't my favorite cluster in the world, but I like it in the end. There was this word joy. However, to get it to look good, it had to sit on top of that chipboard tag. So here I'm going to have to cut down quite a bit of foam tape to fit in around a bunch of the pieces of the word joy. So that is going to take me just a minute to get all that on. I'm not putting any below the J because I know that J, the letter, is going to go on the chipboard piece. So, but that adds some red to that cluster, and that really helps that. So now each cluster will have a chipboard piece, and each cluster will have a red element in it. I, a lot of times, will go by the rule of thirds and have 3 clusters. You're going to kind of see my cluster on the left-hand side in a few minutes. It's going to be a little bit bigger than just the small cluster. And well, I'll talk about that in a minute because right now it makes no sense. But since I have, again, another element that I have in one cluster, I'm adding to another cluster is that crochet twine. So on one of these tags down below, I'm just adding it to the top and making that look like it's more of a tag. And so that brings that element to 2 different clusters. And I think I add another bow to the left cluster towards the end, but I cannot remember for sure. I do struggle a lot with this cluster on the left-hand side because of that strip, that patterned paper piece that is spanning across the whole page that I punched with my punch is sticking out below the truck, and it just looks a little funny to me. And if I try to cover I don't want to cover up the truck, but anything that I try to put there either covers it up only a little bit, like you'll see me play with this tag here. I do struggle with that area, but I like the way it looks in the end. So I am taking out the brads for this collection now, and I love the brads. I really wanted to get those used up, so I'm going to play around with where I want those to go, and I'm going to put a few of those in different clusters. And one thing I want to encourage you to do, if you are struggling with using like I say, a die cut from your ephemera pack, don't be afraid to cut down or alter or change or punch or somehow change your ephemera piece to work with your sketch, or I mean with your layout, because I never used to do that ever until I started watching YouTube videos, and I've been watching YouTube process videos for quite a while now. And one thing I've learned over time from watching them is to not be afraid to cut down your die cut pieces. You know, like I did that 3x4 card. I cut it down to work for me. So yeah, give that a try if you're struggling to find something that'll work. Hang on, I need a small drink of coffee. Sorry, my throat was getting really dry and I didn't want to start coughing on you guys. So here I'm adding some brads around the page, and this is where I do a little bit different. So this brad kind of fills in this space just a little bit, but I've added my journaling to that cluster. And instead of putting the third brad in that cluster underneath the main photos, I'm going to add another brad up here above the journaling. And this is kind of what I was talking about, how this cluster on the left-hand side kind of grows. So I consider my journaling to be a little bit of the cluster. And so I don't feel, and I like the way that it kind of, the brad up there, and I'm going to add a couple other little things. I like the way that it looks in the end, even though it's almost like a separate cluster off on its own. But if you don't have 3 clusters or an odd number of clusters, don't worry about it, because the only thing that matters is if it looks good to you and if you like it. So if adding 6 clusters, 12 clusters, no clusters, 5 titles, 2 titles, whatever works for you, it's your process, and you're scrapbooking for your enjoyment. So that's the only thing that matters, is that it works for you. So don't be afraid to break the rules, or don't feel like you have to follow rules. So anyways, now I'm just trimming some more things down and adding a little bit of circles here and there. I added a little bit of the twigs, and I've sort of filled in that space below the truck so it doesn't look so empty now, but it doesn't look like I'm trying to totally cover up that border piece. So I'm happy with that. And here again, I'm taking this sticker piece and I'm cutting it in half. I don't think it ends up on this layout after all, because I couldn't get it to work, but I have no problem cutting it in half, because it was more of a chance that it would work for me cut in half than the way it came. So again, feel free to cut your stickers in half. In fact, I dare you, go tomorrow when you scrapbook, or the next time you scrapbook, take a die cut piece and cut it in half, and enjoy it and see if you like it a little better. So this video is almost ready to end, and this is pretty much how the layout goes. I'm just trying to find my original roller date stamp that has the right year. I need to organize those a little better. I do have some close-up photos in the end, and I hope you like this video. I really like how this layout turned out. One of my favorite parts about this layout, I think, is the 2 red stripes, the one on the very right and the one on the left-hand side. I feel like that really frames in the photos and really brings your attention to the photos. So I hope you guys like this video. I hope I wasn't too crazy with it. Like I said, I'm a little bit out of practice, but I am enjoying being back making videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. All right, bye.